Hello and welcome to the fifth video in this series around useful classroom tools. The whole point of this series is that the tools are useful whether you're teaching remotely or in person in the classroom or a bit of both. So I've gone through several of the tools that I use frequently, and this has got to be one of my favorites because it just does a bit of everything and can often help you avoid navigating away from this main screen. So this is a website called classroomscreen.com, which is nice and simple to remember. And the whole point is that you open it, it's there on your team screen or your projector screen or your smart TV, whatever you're using, and it's just there for the whole lesson. So if you go to that website, you'll be presented with a page like this, and every time you refresh, you'll get a different background, and you can customize it. So the first thing I tend to do is change the background, and I tend to choose something that either relates to what we're covering or isn't too distracting. I mean, you can get nice, animated ones, but I find them a bit distracting for the students. So I tend to go with, a relatively plain background like this. It's just easy to see and it limits the distractions. Along the bottom here is your dock, and this works in any browser, which is great. So you can open this widget bar or dock and you can hide it out of the way. And it gives you lots of different options, lots of different tools. So we'll go through what some of them are. The background one we've gone through. As I say, I tend to change to a fairly standard, non-distracting background. Random name is quite useful. Type in the names. I'm making these up. Charlie, Sarah, Bob, Freddie, whatever. And then I can just have it choose a name, and it's all in this screen. So I can choose them. I can ask them a question, and then we do it again, and we'll choose Freddie this time, and so on. So I can have these quite large, quite small, whatever I want, and I can close them. If you have an account, which you can sign up for, you can save these lists, but I tend to just use it without logging in. It tends to work for me. We then have dice. Again, we can roll our dice, which is quite useful. Nice sound effects as well. We have a sound level. Now I won't do this because it might interrupt my recording, but what you can do is have a maximum noise. So if you have kind of exam conditions or study conditions, you can say we don't want any louder than level 3 or level 2, and if it gets above that, it will give you a warning. So it uses your microphone in the classroom in the computer to measure the noise inside of the room. If it gets too loud, a little alarm can go off and it can remind our students just to, bring that noise down a bit. That's quite nice. Media, we can insert images, YouTube, anything you can embed like a form, webcam picture, etc. QR codes are very useful. Again, it just saves you having to navigate away from this screen. You can just type in your website address, and then the QR code will take you to google.com. or whatever you type in. So it's just really quick and easy, and it just saves you having to move away into a different website or a different interface. We can draw. This is quite useful on smart boards or boards that have a touch screen. There we are. Add text. I tend to copy and paste instructions into this, and you can obviously move these around. So I might have my text there. I might have an image here. Imagine I put one in there that's quite useful for the task. And I might have my sound level in the top right to keep them kind of at a sensible level. And it's just all there for them to see nice and easily. And I can then close down what I don't want to use. Work symbols. Now this tends to work, I think, a little better maybe for the younger years, primary or early secondary, but it still works quite well in FE. Silence, whisper, ask a neighbour, and work together. The work together and ask a neighbour I tend to use quite a lot, the others not so much. And again, you can resize them to fit your whole screen or just be kind of up there, in the background. Traffic lights. Now I love these, so I will often say, right, off you go, the light screen, your task is to do X, Y, and Z, but keep an eye, because if I turn it to yellow, it means you've got about 2 minutes left, and if I turn it to red, you need to be listening, or whatever. You can customize just by clicking on these different lights. It's quite useful. It's a very, very easy visual cue, especially for those that may not be listening or maybe hard of hearing or whatever. It's a very, very visual cue for them to use. Timer is great, similar to the lights, but automated. So I can choose 5 minutes, off we go, and then there's a little selection of noises at the end. I tend to leave it on the bell, but you can have different noises to make it a bit more fun. Little alarm sounds. So that's your timer. Stopwatch. I don't really use this one too much, but standard stopwatch. There we are. This is really useful if you're kind of teaching sport or something that needs to, or science or something that you need to measure how long something takes. You can do that, and by clicking on the lap button, you'd have your lap times. And because it's a website, this works on your tablet, your Surface or your iPad or whatever, and it just means you can walk around the room and you can have these laps kind of appearing as you go. So it's quite nice. Not one I use very much myself, but it is quite useful. Then you've got a clock, fairly useful. You can change your colours and so on, just to leave it up there in the background, nice and small look, just in the corner. And it just means that students are always aware of what time it is, so they can keep an eye on what they need to be doing. And then you've got a calendar. Don't really use this one very much, but if you want, you could have the date displayed, and then you can have the clock. And I can make this one smaller. And then you might have, let's do a real example, you might have the traffic lights over here, so we're kind of working away. We might have some work symbols, so we're going to be working together today. And then in the middle, you might have your instructions. Oopsie, move this one over. Here, so set instructions down here. You can imagine that this is quite a useful tool, and you can really customize it to suit whatever you're doing. And then it's all interactive, so I can click on the light, I can close this, I can change it, whatever. So hopefully that's useful. It's a really useful tool. I like it. It's free and it's simple. You can sign up and sign in. I don't tend to. I don't think there's any, apart from the saving of layouts. That's quite nice, but I tend to change it up anyway. There's no real benefit. So do have a go. It's classroomscreen.com. And hopefully this has been of some help. If you'd like any more support, please look at the details at the end of this video around the EdTech Demonstrator Program, where we can provide custom support, fully funded, so no cost to you, via Teams or Zoom or whatever you prefer. Thanks very much.